So today we have Bo Nickal on our screen. And why do we have Bo Nickal on our screen? Well, he just leaked his plans to go get the middleweight title. That is right. We have the full Bo Nickal blueprint in our hands right now. We're going to read through it, see what we think, see if it is going to be correct or if we think he might come up a little bit short. So, this is from a podcast he was on with Dimitri Johnson. And he's talking about his next fight, how everyone wants him to fight a ranked guy or a high contender, and he doesn't want to yet. He mentions that he wants to make the fight competitive as much as he can and keep improving, but that when he wants to fight the guys, that he wants it to be a masterclass and not even close fights. This is his words, not mine. So right about here on the screen, he starts talking about this. He says, let's say I fight a ranked guy next, then a top 5 opponent, and then for the title. It's not a long road to where I want to go. And then he follows it up with, I feel like I can compete with and beat the best right now, but I don't want it to be competitive when I reach the title fight. I want it to look like a masterclass where their opponent isn't even on my level. So Bo Nickal thinks he can already compete with everyone at middleweight, and he thinks when he gets to the title, given his blueprint he's laying out right here, that it is going to be a masterclass. So in this other tab, we have the middleweights pulled up. So as Bo Nickal, he predicts to beat Paul Craig, according to this plan, which I do think he'll win. However, I could see him losing. And the next, he wants a ranked opponent. So let's look at these ranked opponents and decide what is a good fight for Bo Nickal to help him with his plan, and if there's any potential scaries that could throw this plan into jeopardy. And Bo Nickal's a smart guy, right? He's picked his fights well so far. He's destroying everybody he's fighting. I think he's a smart dude. So he's going to pick someone on this list that he thinks he's going to beat, which I do think is a decent amount of guys. And I think some potential names out there are Paulo Costa. I don't think that Costa can compete with Bo Nickal's wrestling at all. I think Paulo's size advantage kind of goes out the window because Bo's a pretty big dude. And I think once Bo gets a hold of him, it's kind of donezo for Paulo. Paulo hasn't been winning his fights lately. He hasn't even been fighting that much. So I just don't think there's any momentum in Paulo's way, and that when he gets grappling, because he was giving some big shots to Rob Whittaker when they were standing, but I just don't think it's going to go well when he's facing a wrestler who's going to ragdoll him around, right? So Paulo Costa, I think, is a potential matchup for him, and I do think Bo Nickal wins it. Let's look at another one who I think is a little bit higher ranked opponent, could look better on him, more of a household name at middleweight. I guess Paulo's pretty popular, but Jared Cannonier. And yeah, Jared Cannonier is a great fighter, but he's on a 2-fight losing streak. Before that, he did beat Vettori and he did beat Strickland. Before that, he lost to Adesanya. But he's on a 2-fight losing streak, hasn't won in a year and a half. And Cannonier is 40 years old, and Bo Nickal is in his 20s. I just think the youth of Bo Nickal, that Cannonier is not going to be able to compete with it. He's not going to be able to hold up against it. I think Bo's going to get him down, and it's going to be like a Khamzat Whittaker situation where Bo's just going to wear him down and get a finish somehow. It could go to decision, but I really would think Bo would finish that. I don't think he'll fight someone like Imavov. I just don't see him wanting that fight yet. I think Imavov would make it a pretty good fight between him and Bo Nickal, is why I don't see him taking that. We know Imavov's a good wrestler. And if we look at someone else down here, interesting name is Sharmagomedov, right? Just came off that double spinning forearm win last pay-per-view, and that was pretty sweet. And I think this would be a great prospect clash of two great prospects. I believe both are undefeated. And it's that classic matchup where we have the striker versus the wrestler, two young guys who are seemingly on their way to the top. This would be an awesome match to see. However, I really doubt the UFC is going to do this because they like to build the guys up, not have them fight when they're on their come up, but then when they get to the title, when they get to their peak, start having them fight then. So I think either Bo and or Shara, one of the two gets the title or near the title, and that's when they're going to have them compete. But I think the UFC is going to intentionally keep their paths to the middleweight title pretty separate, just so that we could build up both the stars. Because if you have them fight now, it kind of like ruins the hype for the potential big fight between them because you already seen how it's going to go, even if the one who loses gets way better. You don't want that first fight to already be there, right? So let's say he's going to fight Cannonier, he's going to fight Costa, and he gets the win, right? Well, his next fight, he says he's going to be a top 5 guy. And if we look at these top 5 guys right now, we'll include Dricus just because we don't know if he's going to win or lose. Imavov, I think, is a close fight. I can see Bo winning it. Whittaker, I do see Bo winning with the wrestling. Not as dominantly as Khamzat, but I think Bo would likely end up. I can't even say with that much confidence that he would beat Whittaker because Whittaker's still really good, and I could see Whittaker catching him because Whittaker's just way more experienced. We look at someone like Izzy. That's a great striker versus wrestler matchup, and to be honest, I do think Bo beats Izzy. Izzy really has not looked like classic Izzy in a long time since the second Pereira fight. And I don't think that Izzy would hold up against a good wrestler like Bo or a good wrestler like Khamzat. I think that once Bo finally closes the distance, he'd be able to get him down. I would like to see Bo in another fight or two versus someone like Izzy just because Bo's a lot more inexperienced compared to a legend of the game. Some would call him like Izzy. And then we look at Sean Strickland. I think it's a good fight, but I think Bo eventually overwhelms him and wins. I'm not sure that it's a finish. I kind of think it's just a boring decision. Strickland's kind of a tough guy. But Strickland putting the pressure on Bo would actually be pretty interesting to see him fight against. And I think that'd be a pretty good fight. Like, I don't see Bo coming into these top 5 and just easily beating any of the dudes. If he were to get to the title against Dricus, I could see that one going either way, similar to these other guys. Like, I think they're good fights, man. A lot of these guys have the experience on Bo, and I could see them winning, but I don't know. Dricus has that crazy endurance, and he seems like a very well-rounded fighter to where I would end up picking him against Bo Nickal at this stage in Bo's career. I don't think Bo needs to speed run to the title that fast because I don't think he's ready for it. And the one name I haven't mentioned in this top 5 is Khamzat Chimaev because I think that is the nightmare matchup for Bo. So let's say Bo wins his first ranked matchup against Cannonier or Costa. He goes up. Maybe he beats like a Whittaker or someone or whoever just lost the title fight between Strickland and Dricus. Not going to say Khamzat because that's what we're talking about now. But let's say he fights one of those guys, gets to the title, or gets to a Khamzat fight. I think that is the worst matchup possible for Bo Nickal. Khamzat is a good size for the division. Bo's not going to have a strength advantage at all. If anything, Khamzat would have it, but there's a decent chance it could be similar. Khamzat's wrestling is just, I get Bo's this great collegiate wrestler. I'm not doubting that at all, but Khamzat, these Russian guys, they show they have this different wrestling that's just another level. I mean, there's no way after that last Khamzat performance that you can convince me that Bo's a better MMA wrestler than Khamzat. Like, NCAA wrestler, sure. I'm sure Bo would probably win that. He knows all the technicalities there, and he would outpoint him. He would get the job done. But Khamzat's way more vicious, and he's at the peak of his career right now, fighting better than we've ever seen him fight before. And for him to do that against Kamaru Usman, who's one of the greatest MMA wrestlers of all time, and beat him and get able to take him down at will, there is no way that he wouldn't be able to get to Bo. I think it would be a really cool match to see, though, 2 high-level wrestlers going at it. I would like to see how Bo does with the aggressiveness of Khamzat, but I think that Khamzat is the nightmare matchup for Bo. I think Bo's ideal path is fighting Cannonier or Costa and then fighting someone else who's not a dominant wrestler, such as Robert Whittaker or Israel Adesanya. Just stay away from the high-level wrestlers as much as you can. Whereas I think Dricus, even though he's not he's a good wrestler, but not one of the best wrestlers. His cardio is going to be a problem for him, and his wrestling well-roundedness. And someone like Khamzat is going to be a huge problem for Bo Nickal when he has someone who could actually wrestle. Because then, if the wrestling counteracts each other, which I think Khamzat's going to wrestle anyways, you go to the striking, and Khamzat is a better striker than Bo Nickal. I don't think that's debatable. Not that Khamzat's a great striker, but when the wrestling threat goes out of it, even though I'd have Chimaev with the wrestling advantage, we've seen him with knockout finishes, and yeah, Bo, I'm pretty sure, has a knockout finish, and he's dropped people, but his striking is a high level, and he wasn't facing the level of people that Chimaev was facing. And Chimaev is struck with Gilbert Burns, rocked him. Like, Bo is not on that level yet, and I think him getting to a title that fast, I do want to see him fighting these ranked guys, instead of like Paul Craig and whoever that last can he fought was. But for him to think he's going to waltz into a top 5 matchup and then get the title, I just really don't see it happening with Khamzat in the division. I think Khamzat is way too strong of a force. We'll have another video on him, but there's nobody except Khamzat stopping him right now, and it would be his health. But Bo Nickal, I think in this weight class, once he gets to the top against those good wrestlers, is really going to struggle and kind of see that edge hit him of, oh, like, I'm a great wrestler, but these MMA guys, you know, this is their sport that they've been doing their whole lives. Like, they might have a little bit of an upper hand on me. And he's still very young, but let me know what you guys think down below. Do you think Bo can get to the title in this 3-fight plan, this blueprint he laid out? Or do you think he needs to drastically improve somewhere? Does anyone pose him a challenge, or does he steamroll everyone? I want to know what you guys think, because it's just my opinion, but let me know, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.